All right. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Liberty Dad Podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. If you're tuning in live, then I especially thank you for giving me your time so early. Now, first, I want to offer some apologies. Some of my YouTube subscribers may have seen something that looked a little like this last night. So, what ended up happening, I tried to set up multiple streams in the background and inadvertently had sent out a whole bunch of notifications to people. So I want to thank Native New Mexican who sent me a message saying, he made a comment on one of the videos and he said, "Hey, FYI, when you release 6 separate, quote, notify me or live video posts or just regular videos at near the same time, you fill people's subscription page with your content and prevent them from seeing anything else. A sure way to get someone to unsubscribe from you because you're hogging the tool they use to find their subscribed videos. I'm staying with, but it's a good idea not to do that." So thank you, Native New Mexican. I apologize for anybody else that saw that. I removed it. It is no longer there. It was total accident. The other apology that I need to make, I guess, I think maybe my thumbnail may have miscommunicated a little bit. I'm always trying to streamline my process, so, and I'm busy doing things. And so sometimes maybe I don't think things through. I did not intend this episode to be about infighting per se. It was just simply to offer my thoughts. And so with that, I do want to get into the topic at hand today, which is how to LP. All right, we're back and we're going to talk about how to LP. And it's probably not what you think. I'm not really here. So, my show, I do not really like the idea of attacking other libertarians. I definitely don't like attacking other affiliates. So, we go ahead and try to just discuss things in a more neutral tone. That's what I'm going to attempt to do today. Let's say a few good mornings, real quick. Hector, good morning to you, good sir. As to you, Keith. And yes, Hector, I am a total boomer when it comes to technology. Pardon me, folks. I got a little tickle in my throat. And it's funny that I can be a bit of a boomer because, well, I'm a technologist. Like, I literally make my living writing code and automating things. So you would think that I would be much better at it. But turns out, I guess for some of us, we're good at building the tools, but not necessarily using them. So it is what it is. Anyway. So, in virtually every space, everyone has ideas, right? Back in the days when I was in church and I was in leadership there, I would know, people would have ideas. They'd say, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." When my mom and dad owned a restaurant many, many years ago, people would give them all kind of ideas. Parenting, I'm Liberty Dad. Man, us parents, we can be quite judgmental. We've got an idea on how to do everything. And yes, even in the LP. Not everyone, though, wants to put their name behind ideas. Now, when I say put your name behind it, I don't necessarily mean say, "Hey, this is my idea. I'm willing to tell people about it." I mean, show your work. Go and put in the time and the effort to actually try to implement your ideas, not just tell other people how to do your ideas. And this is why I tend to dismiss many critics, because a lot of time they don't really have their skin in the game. In fact, I'll even ask a question. A lot of people say, "Well, the LP should do this." And usually when people say LP should do this, They generally primarily talking about this, the national party. A lot of times they could be talking about the state party. When you're engaging online, it's probably more about the national party. But it can be the state party. And sometimes you get a little bit of criticism for local parties too. So I'll ask people, I'll say, well, how's your local affiliate going? And you know what I hear? That's what I hear. It's a long cricket. Turn that off. All right. And sometimes I get foul responses back. I've had people say, well, people, I was one guy actually told me, he said, I know what I do. Other people know what I do. I don't have to tell you. I was like, well, you don't. I mean, you're right. You don't have to tell me. But if you're going to be online, putting your voice out there, bickering about things, telling everybody how wrong they are, it's not really an unfair question to ask you, hey, how's your affiliate going? What's going on? How are you doing where you have the most control? So this morning, I want to attempt to do two things. I want to motivate people for the long haul. And then I want to try to impress upon you why local is the most important area for you to focus on. Now, there will always be some exceptions to everything, right? Not everyone is necessarily designed for the same role. So there are some people that might actually be better off at the state level or even at the national level. But again, those are exceptions. Now, to tell you about this, I first got to start with, what is my view of the Liberty community at large? And I split people up into three different groups. And everybody knows I love threes because I'm obsessed with it. You have your activists. These are people like writers. They write books. They write blogs. I don't know if anybody does blogs anymore, but if people are still writing blogs, they write blogs, right? They host podcasts, right? And then there are also the traditional activists, the ones that go out and get arrested or, kind of shake things up and get media attention, the ones that like to protest. Those are activists. Then you have your candidates. Your candidates will run for public office. Like these are the guys that more than likely are putting on a suit and a tie, and they're going out and they're hobnobbing, rubbing shoulders with people, asking for money, so on and so forth. Then you have your party leadership. These are the folks that run the party. It could be at the local level, state level, and the national level. Now, I tend to think of this as people will fit into one of these three groups as either a primary role, like you're the person, or a supportive role. So you maybe you're not the facing, maybe you're not the candidate who's running, but you love supporting candidates, right? And I know people, there are people out there, we've got them in our affiliate. They do not run for office. They barely show up to the meetings, but man, behind the scenes, they put in a lot of work, right? They're promoting our stuff all over social media. We've got one person here who the running joke is like, you give it to them and in like 5 minutes, it's going to be on like 50 different Facebook pages. It's going to be all over Twitter. It's going to be posted everywhere. And it's like, holy wow, how do you do that, right? So there are, so you can be one of those three things, even if you are not specifically the leader or the candidate or the activist that's out in front with your face right there for everybody to see. So it can very well be a supportive role. Now, I think that most people will probably do one role relatively well. Some people can do two. There are some that can do two. But I've not met anybody that I believe can do all three. And I think this is very, very important because I think that there are a lot of people that are simply in the wrong role. Now, to motivate, I want to tell you a little bit about the Duval affiliate. But before I do that, let me put on my Duval hat. It's not really a Duval hat. It's actually what I like to call my affiliate share hat right now. So this is my affiliate share hat. So you see which I switched it out from this one and I've got this one on. And it's going to make more sense here in just a few moments. Okay, just hold on tight. All right. So in late 2017, I decided that I was going to be a libertarian. I was like, I think this is for me. I'm no longer a Republican anymore. Like, this is just not it. And so I joined a meetup group. I was on Meetup, and I found the Libertarian Party here in Duval. I joined their meetup group, and I started going to their meetups. And then a few months later, the affiliate fell. Their chair at the time had stepped down abruptly, and nobody wanted to take the role. And so we had no affiliate. And I was kind of bummed out because I was like getting in. I was I was kind of excited about it, right? So a few months later, I made some phone calls to people that I had met just before the affiliate fell, and I said, "Hey, we need to bring this back." Like, that when I went, the meeting had like 15, 20 people, easy. So there wasn't much going on at the time. We're starting to get ready. We held a bunch of meetings in my house, me and several other people, and we started figuring out, okay, what do we need to do? Who do we need to tap? What kind of, we were trying to figure out all the different things that was needed for from us to be able to get this thing back up and running. So there wasn't a whole bunch going on. Then we ended up getting it going on. We got ourselves affiliated, and I think it was sometime shortly after, maybe a couple of months. I'm not really sure, but it was somewhere in 2018 because in early 2018, that's when we had our affiliate back, and then sometime after that, maybe a couple of months, I got a phone call from a friend, somebody who was supposed to be a friend that I had met through the Libertarian Party, and they had asked me if I would join as an officer on a new board. I think it was like an advisory board or something like that. It's like an organization, and it's like we're going to be like a think tank, and we're going to make advisements and put out information, I believe is what it was. And so they asked if I would be on the board, and I politely declined because I said, I really want to focus on the LP work. And then the most amazing thing happened. Viciously attacked me and my peers, actually, telling me, like, do you think this is the right way, and do you think that so and so and so and so are actually good leaders? This is going nowhere. It's not going to, nothing's ever going to come of this, blah, blah. Like, it was pretty vicious. And I was like, holy wow, like, I thought you were my friend. By the way, I want to point out something just for people, just to keep in the back of your mind. If my judgment was good enough to be on your organization, it should also be good enough for me to decline, right? Like, it doesn't even make sense for you to call me up and say, hey, will you be on the board? I like your good judgment. And then I say, I think in my judgment, I would rather stay doing what I'm doing, and then to viciously attack me. So apparently you didn't appreciate my good judgment. That's just a side note. So anyway, in March 2018, roughly, we had our affiliate back up, and I started as the secretary. Now, I was asked when the original, the prior chair had stepped down, if I wanted to be chair, and I was like, I don't know what the chair does. Like, no, I can't do that. So we got our affiliate back up. I was the secretary, and for a while, I bounced around between the secretary and the treasurer. Sometimes I was one, sometimes I was the other, sometimes I was both, based on what availability we had for people to fulfill those roles. And so our business meetings and our socials resumed. We tried out a couple of different venues until we hit a sweet spot. Now, here in Jacksonville, it's a very large city. So some areas, we had more success in some venues than we did others. And we even at one point had a state house candidate run. Now, this was not running in the traditional sense where we're like, hey, we all knew the person. It was actually word of mouth came to the party, and they were like, hey, this person's running as a libertarian. And we were like, they are? And so I called the person and I said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I think I was the treasurer at the time. I said, I'm the treasurer, and I would like to have a conversation with you. I hear that you're running for the Libertarian Party. And she and I had a phone conversation. I got off the phone and I thought to myself, she sounds a lot more like a conservative Republican than anything else. And so but nonetheless, we invited her. She came and she spoke. And reception wasn't so great because she definitely had a lot more conservative Republican ideas, but that's okay. And then, there wasn't a whole lot happening, but there were some things here and there that popped up. Mostly what I can recall is that we had a small revolving door with officers, and that lasted roughly around a year. It just seemed like we would get an officer, we would start to get a little bit of momentum, some vision, like we'd coalesce a little bit, and then one of them would just be like, no, I got to go. Like one officer, he actually seemed excited, and then abruptly out of nowhere sent an email claiming that none of us wanted to do the work. None of us really cared about liberty, and that he was quitting. And we were like, dude, what? Like, it was like really out of nowhere. And we even had an incident where one officer, with one officer, where the other officers and the region rep got together with them and said, look, because of this thing that happened, and it's a very serious issue, we're asking that you step down. And they did. So it was, so we had a lot, there was a lot of ups and downs as we went along. And then right before COVID, somewhere, I don't know, a few months before COVID, our chair at the time, she stepped down because a new work opportunity popped up. And so she wanted to pursue that, and she needed to be able to focus on work. And so then we were without a chair. By this time, I was a couple of years in. I had been fulfilling the role of treasurer and secretary. And I said, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I am absolutely ready to step in and as chair. And then all of a sudden COVID hit. And I had laid out all these ideas, and I was like, all right, we're going to do all these things. And then COVID hits, and bam, everything closes. So like we had nowhere to even go. So we had to hold online meetings for like several months. It was, I can't remember how long it was, but we held online meetings because that's all we could do. And I guess it never really occurred to us that maybe we could do it in somebody's house. But we held them online, and that was that. And then around, like, things happened a little bit during COVID times. It's weird to say COVID times. And I don't remember all the details and exact timeline when things happened. But I can tell you that we ended up getting 3 candidates who just showed up out of nowhere, and they were excited and ready to run. And then that really kicked in our affiliate in high gear, because we had really motivated candidates who were really excited. And one of them did come through a meeting that we held. He showed up to a meeting. He was brand new. And then the next thing we knew, all of a sudden he was ready to run. Another one reached out and said, hey, can I come and speak with you? And I said, sure. And he literally, it was like 2 or 3 times he came to my house, and he spent a good 2 or 3 hours, and we just talked, right? And just in general. And I just kind of gave him the lay of the land. All right. When this kicked our affiliate into high gear, we kind of had more work than we were ready for, but we did our best. We were hosting events. We were getting in donations. We were sending out emails. We even got state party support. So that was, it was pretty awesome. Like, a lot of good things happened. I would say that somewhere between 2020 and 2023, Duval probably had their most active time than ever before. And I believe I can say this for sure, we raised more money than ever before. Okay. But it wasn't me necessarily. Like, a lot of people say, oh man, you're doing a really great job running the affiliate. It's really the hard work of roughly around 10 to 15 people at different times. Sometimes you had all 10, sometimes you had 15, whatever, but there was about 10 to 15 people that would regularly come out. And we were going to a lot of local events. We started just attending events where we could. We went to gun shows, we went to the Pride Festival. We even got an invitation from an organization, and I think their name was like Jacksonville Yoga for Justice and Inclusion. Like, some of our members were a little skeptical about that, but they reached out and they said, hey, will you attend? We did. We attended their event, right? We hosted an anti-mandate protest, which got about 25 to 30 people to attend. And then we attended another, which had probably about closer to like 50 people. Both of those got us just a little bit of media attention, right? Not too much. Actually, I take it back. The one we hosted did not. The media did come out, but then they didn't report on it. Like, it was weird. They took a few pictures and then left, and we never heard from them again. We hosted an anti-war protest that got about 16 people. And then on social media, we went at it with the city over a curfew mandate that the mayor put in. And that did get us a little bit of media attention as well. So we had a lot of things going on, and we were just anywhere we could take an opportunity, we would try to seize it. Very carpe diem, right? As they say. Now we got a ways to go. I'm not boasting like, hey, we've got it all worked out, but it has been a very long 6-year road. And so to bring that back to this hat now, why am I wearing this hat as opposed to this one, right? Now, this is in my personal life. This hat here, I got the screen cut off. Sorry, guys. In my personal life, this is the hat that I wear when I'm going out to events. This is the hat I wear when I go out and I'm working in the yard, or I'm working at a property, or I'm working, in my garage, doing some woodworking or something like that. This hat that I put on earlier when I said I'm going to put on my affiliate hat, my chair hat. This hat represents a lot of hard work. You can see that it's worn down, it's faded, it's beat up, right? Because it's been a very long 6 years that I've put in, that other people have put in. And so I want to point out my role as chair. Number one, my role is not to push my views. I'm here to advance the party. And a lot of people forget this. People in my affiliate, they don't always agree with me. And that's okay. I don't have to agree with them. They don't have to agree with me. Okay? I would like you to, but I get reality. And a lot of people forget this. They just they get in there and they think, oh, I'm chair now, or I'm the leader. Therefore, do as I say. But no, that's not what you're there for. What you're there for is to motivate people and to advance the organization that you're in, whether it's a nonprofit that maybe is feeding the homeless, or whether it's a party. You're there to advance the party, to advance its goal. And there may be some areas where you don't always agree, and that's okay. And there'll be people that don't always agree. That's okay. My job is to get people where they belong. But I have to do this before they seek something else. Otherwise, it becomes a conflict. We had a new member come in from another state, and I immediately kind of researched who they were, just because, like, all right, are we getting a problem or not? Turned out we weren't. And I started to get to know the person, and then an opportunity came up, and I said, I think this would be a good position for you. And I encouraged them to seek out that role. And I literally received phone calls of people doubting my judgment. And they were like, dude, you serious? Like, this person? I don't know. Well, guess what? Some of those same people later called me up to tell me that, wow, that was a great decision. This person was definitely right for that role. And I had other people who had reached out and said the same thing, but had not actually called doubting my judgment in the first place, right? Like there were multiple people that reached out and said, hey, you know what? Kudos to you for this decision. And the reason I'm telling you that is because rather than push my views, I was trying to find, where do people belong? Are they an activist? Are they a candidate? Are they a party leader? Where do they belong? Where do they best fit? Because my job is to get you there. And it's a lot easier if I try to do it before you seek out something else. Because once somebody seeks out something, once they're looking at a particular role, it becomes very difficult, because now you're sending the message. You're sending two messages. One, you'd be good for this role. And number two, you're not good for this role. But usually what gets heard, or at least what gets heard first, is you're not good with this role, because you got to convince them to leave to stop pursuing that particular role and pursue something else. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. That's why I think it's better to do it before. And the way to get that, to make that happen, is to spend your time evaluating who the people are if you're in leadership, which means you have to set aside your own ego. You cannot get in there with your ego. You have to get in there and be mindful, like, what am I here to accomplish? Now, I will say that another job is to keep people from burnout, which is tough because you're susceptible to burnout. And so what I've told the people in my affiliate, I said, hey, look, we're small. We've got a lot more work than we have people. It'll probably always be that way. Why? Because it's politics. Because there's always something going on. There's always some new thing. We could use a body over here. We could use money over here. There's always something, right? So I tell them it's okay to drop things. And it's frustrating for them. And I got to keep encouraging them and saying, look, stop worrying about the things that we're not doing and focus on the things that we can do. Focus on doing them well. Because when you focus on doing them well, you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to feel good about the work you do. And you're going to forget about the things that you didn't get to. And more than likely, most people will forget what those things were, the things that you didn't get to. How do I say that? Most people will forget the things that you didn't get to anyway. because not everyone needs to support everything in full because you can't. We should know this, libertarians. We're the party that talks endlessly about economics and scarcity. Well, your time is scarce as well. So it's the job of the chair, of the leadership, to keep people from burnout. And it's also the job to seek to keep everyone involved and support their goals. Now, I can't always do that. Hold on for a second. I can't always do that because sometimes their goals don't fit. And that's okay. Maybe they're too big. Maybe they're out of scope, whatever the case may be. It's not that they have bad goals necessarily, although that too sometimes. It's just that sometimes the goals we're not prepared for whatever reason. So it's my job to do my best to try and keep everyone involved and find where they best fit that will support their goals. Because when people come to an organization, they're there to, this is part of my own personal philosophy. So you may not disagree, you may disagree with it, and that's okay. But I believe that everybody is selfish and that everybody does things for their own purpose. If I jump in front of a speeding bullet to protect my wife, it's because I didn't want to live with the guilt. Now, you may disagree with that, and we're not going to get into all that, but I use that as my foundation to say, like, people come to an organization on purpose. They come to an organization because they want to be active. They want to be part of something. So it's the job of leadership to find out where they can best fit, because that best fit will allow them to feel good about having joined it. And it's not always pleasant, right? Like sometimes as a leader here in Duval, I have been a little bit pissy. I'll be honest. I have been, in fact, I will tell you a real story that happened probably less than a month ago. There's a group chat that we have, and somebody was kind of going at me, and I was just not in the mood. And I had just finished a whole bunch of work for the affiliate, and it was really trying in that particular instance because it was over a weekend that I had done a whole bunch of work to make something happen, and I was balancing a whole lot of things, and I was doing the best that I could. Right. And this is not me saying, oh, I'm just a volunteer. I hate that stuff. Right. But I was literally working really hard, and I was balancing a lot of life stuff, and I was barely able to keep up. But I managed to pull off what I did. And I felt like this person was just kind of going at me. And so I got mad and I just left the chat. I think I said a few profanities before I left it. Right. But I did. And the reality is, this was me not being pleasant, because even the leadership sometimes gets frustrated. But it's your job as a leader to try to ameliorate other people's frustration. And it's tough sometimes. All right. And let me get to a comment here, because I think this comment is perfect for what I'm saying right here. Tub says it's best fit makes them more effective in their roles. And I agree. If I spend my time rather than trying to impose my vision per se or my views, if I spend my time trying to get people where they're best fit, then what happens is they become more effective, and then they're less likely to be burnt out, because it's easy to get burnt out when you're doing something that you don't particularly like. It's a little harder, still can happen, but it's a little harder when you're doing something that you're enjoying, when you're enjoying the results from it. It's a little harder to get burnt out. Still happens. And that's why, going back a few comments earlier, I said it's okay to drop things. Like, some things got to be dropped because you can't do everything, and that will definitely lead to burnout. But it's not. Get back on track here. I'm kind of digressing a little bit. It is not always pleasant to be in leadership, and sometimes it's tough. And what most people don't realize, I have a confidant. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll have no idea who it is. Some of you, there might be a couple people that could probably guess, but more than likely, you're never going to know who my confidant. Actually, I have several of them. I have one confidant that I reach out to all the time, and I get criticism all the time from this person. I mean, in a respectable way, but they'll be like, "Dude, seriously, what's going on here? Why are you doing that? Seriously, come on, stop." And I listen to them, because this person, I respect their opinion, and when they speak, I listen. I don't always agree, but I listen. And I've got a couple friends that are not even in the party. They're not even libertarians. And I talk to them, and sometimes they give me advice. And again, I respect them. So I listen. even though they're not even liberal. Like my buddy Steve that I talk about all the time, he sometimes gives me advice, and sometimes I headbutt, and I'm like, no way, dude, no. And then I have to come to the realization that nope, he is correct. Because as a leader, that's your job, your job as a leader, if that's your position, is to keep yourself on track. However, you can't do it yourself. You need people around you that you can count on to say the right thing when you need to hear it. And sometimes they may not even be interested in what you're doing. They're just an outside observer. So again, you gotta set that ego aside. So Duval got to where it is today because of the hard work and the long-term dedication from all of the members. We've got members that have been here for years, working hard, doing what they do. And I can't I can't even appreciate them enough because they are really the ones that made the affiliate what it is today. They're the ones that are going to make it what it is tomorrow. Me, I'm just here doing what I do, trying to get people where they can be the best that they can be. That's it. I get a lot of credit, but the reality is the affiliate members are the ones that are doing the work. Where I should take a little bit of pat on the back, I suppose, is simply trying to remember my role as a leader and setting aside my own ego. And I'm not always good at it. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I fail miserably. I've had arguments with some of my affiliate members. I've had arguments in my own house where I was ready to toss them out. Seriously, it's not a joke, right? It's tough. But the goal here is to get people where they can best be effective and enjoy the work that they're doing. Now, why local? Well, why shouldn't we maybe have an argument about the national party? Well, I think for the same reason that federal laws are often a bad idea. They're just too far from our daily lives. In the case of federal laws, they tend to be ineffective or miss too many people, right? Like that's one argument against them. We're not going to go. I'm talking about more practical, more pragmatic argument. With the Libertarian Party, local affiliates have the opportunity for people to have the most input and here's the good part, enjoy the most rewards. We have all these pictures if you go to our Facebook page of events that we've been to and things that have happened, and people can look back upon that in very much the same way that a family might open up their scrapbook and just start looking back and say, oh man, remember the time this, remember the time that, remember the time this. That's what people are going to remember. People are going to remember all the times that they put in the hard work. They're going to remember the struggles, and they're going to remember the rewards, especially the rewards that came out of struggle. That's why I believe that local affiliates are the big thing. Now, I know that and I'm not stepping on toes here, so I'm going to try to say it appropriately. Bear with me. It is still 7 a.m. I don't know why I do a podcast so early. It's crazy. But the Mises Caucus, which has taken over the party effectively, they're really big on local. I'm not big on local, not because of any relationship with the Mises Caucus. It's just simply because that's where I have observed the best results for individuals is local, right? And I've been doing this since 2017. In 2017, I barely even knew what the Mises Caucus was. I think if you can go back to some of my earlier interviews. I interviewed Joshua Smith, who was running for chair back in 2018. Was it 2018 or 2020? I think it was 2020. And in 2020, and I was starting to hear about all these caucuses, and I was like, so what are all these caucuses? And he starts naming some other ones, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know those existed. Right? Like I didn't even know about these caucuses. I've just always kind of been, really focused on the local because that's where I have the most power to have, or not power, but the most input and where I can enjoy the most rewards. Now, local is a lot of work, and sometimes it can take years to really see fruit. I'm going to tell you right now, when I came in 2017, and then the affiliate fell, and then a few months later, I grabbed some people together and said, let's get this thing back together. And if you had said, DL, in 6 years, you're going to be chair and 3 people are going to run for office, and it's going to be amazing. And people are going to love it. They're going to be excited. I would have been like, no way. No, that ain't going to happen. Like, when the 3 showed up at that time, my plan that I had laid out included getting one person to run. So 3 kind of blew me out of the water. I was like, whoa, 3? Like I was hoping for 1. And I wasn't even sure how I was going to accomplish getting 1. Okay. So it is a lot of work, and it takes many years to see that fruit sometimes. I mean, sometimes you can see it sooner, but you've got to be there for the long haul. And so anyone in my mind that isn't willing to put in the work, that isn't willing to put their name behind ideas and see them to fruition or failure, they're not ready for anything more. Okay. And I've experienced both success and failure. I think there was one year where I came to the affiliate and I said, here's this paper. Here are all the things that I said I was going to set out to do this year. And I marked them as green, yellow, and red. Green were things that I accomplished. Yellow were things that, kind of sort of got accomplished, but not quite, like not fully. And then the red were, nope, totally failed. And I just acknowledged it. So interesting question here. So many years, Hector Roos says, who's got time for that? Seriously, maybe we should talk about these expectations. So I would hope that it doesn't take 6 years necessarily. Keep in mind, when I came in, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know anything about Robert's Rules. I didn't know anything about running a political party. I didn't know anything about activism. All I knew is that I wanted to participate. And I feel like there's a lot of people that I've met along the way who they come in and all they know is they want to participate. So I think it's worthwhile to say, hey, hedge your bets a little bit and say, it could be a while. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you can do things faster, by all means, you absolutely should. Can you do things faster? Probably. I mean, if I were to move to another city now and there was an affiliate that was, or there was no affiliate and I wanted to get one started, it would not take 6 years because now I have the experience. But if you don't have the experience, if you haven't had the successes and the failures, then yeah, it might actually take a long time. If I wanted to start a business right now, a brand new restaurant, well, I've never run a restaurant. My mom and dad did. I've never run one. I wasn't even working at their restaurant. I would have plenty of failures because I would just, there were a lot of things that I don't know that I would have to learn, and I would probably learn the hard way. So therefore, it's going to take me a lot longer to get to success. However, if I've built 2 or 3 restaurants, or even just one, my next restaurant that I try is going to be much better. Things are going to go faster because I'll have understood a lot of mistakes that I would have otherwise made. Same thing applies here. If you're new, it's going to be a while. If you're seasoned, then you need to make sure that you're ready for the long haul because some of your members may not necessarily be ready. What does the long haul look like? In our case, we went from 0 to 3 candidates in 6 years. But maybe somebody else's case, they want to go from 1 candidate to 4 candidates. And how long do they want to take? I don't know. They probably don't want to take very long, but they might have to accept that it might take a year or 2 because you got to get out. You got to motivate people. You got to bring them in. You got to find the right people. You got to get the right people into place. There's a lot of things that have to happen. So yeah, I do think that we cannot we cannot lose sight that sometimes things take a while. All right, so we can do, there are exceptions, by the way, and I do want to talk about that really quickly. There are exceptions, but that's not most people. Like there are the Steve Jobs that seem to go from 0 to billionaire effortlessly. Although I think if you look back, you find it really wasn't nearly as effortlessly as it seems. It just seems that way because the amount of success that he had compared to what most people achieve. I think if you actually look back, you'll find out that he had a lot of the same failures and successes that any other business person had. But if you're, again, I think that if you're not, if most people are ready for a larger scale after they've proven themselves on a smaller scale, not before. And I think that's one of the big mistakes that we make in the party, is that we try to rush to success. We get our egos in the way, and we're not really looking out for the other people. So let's see. We got another comment here. Let's check it out. So the restaurant analogy is kind of flawed. The LP is over 50 years old. There is, or was anyway, a huge amount of institutional knowledge to leverage. I don't disagree. And I'm not really making an argument necessarily for the National Party. And anybody that watches my show, they might remember that Tub and I did an episode a while back. It was probably like 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, as a while back, where we talked about the LP being 50 years old. And he made the analogy that the Libertarian Party is kind of like the couch surfer, this old man who's couch surfing and has never, kind of picked himself up and started acting like the 50-year-old man that he really is. It's like, hey, you're still couch surfing, bumming, from people, and you haven't made much of yourself. So I do agree that when it comes to the Libertarian Party, there is some institutional knowledge and there is some longevity that's already happened. But again, I'm talking about local. I'm talking about people focusing on their local. Because when I talk to people and I ask them what's going on locally, and their answers are like, well, I know what I'm doing and other people know what I'm doing, that means you're not doing anything. Because who isn't proud to talk about the things that are going on in their field? Who isn't proud to say, we've got 3 candidates running for city council? Everybody's proud of that. And if it's not happening, then you're not going to want to talk about it because there's nothing to talk about. If you tell people, oh, I'm focused here, or I'm focused there, and you keep giving excuses why you're so focused on the national level, and it to me, that just kind of says you really aren't ready to be there. And I know this is challenging for some people. A lot of people are going to really disagree with me, and they might get very, very angry at me. But at the end of the day, let's put it like this. Imagine that the affiliate that I chair right now, as it is, who just came out of a city council election with 3 city council candidates that ran out of a total of 19, okay? And all the things that we've accomplished over the last few years, the protests that we've done, the media attention that we've gotten from park cleanups and from, arguing with the city and all these other things. Imagine that this was the minimum that every affiliate in the country right now was accomplishing. That whenever you talk to somebody and you said, what's going on in your affiliate? They said, oh, we got a certain amount of candidates running, or we just finished a protest, or we just got some media attention because we were cleaning up parks, or this just happened, or that just happened, or we're getting ready to do this. Our affiliate is getting ready to have 6 presidential candidates come in. That was crazy. We started out with just 1 and it grew. It grew beyond our expectations, and we had to really hustle to make sure that we were ready to do that. But imagine if every affiliate, this was the minimum that you could expect when you asked somebody and said, well, what's going on in your affiliate? What would the party look like? Would we really be considered a joke? I don't think so. I mean, would we still get snubbed by the media? Yeah, totally. We would totally get snubbed by the media. But I think that when you started talking to people locally and you said, yeah, I'm a libertarian, they'd be like, oh yeah, you had a candidate run, didn't you? Or, oh yeah, I saw you guys out there. You were protesting. What was that about? Right? So I think that the argument that local is where it's at is there because when you start imagining what it would look like if they were doing what we're doing, and I don't think that, look, I'm not saying that our affiliate is the affiliate to necessarily be like, right? I think there's much more. I would have liked to have achieved more. I think there are areas where I can look back and I would say, you know what? I dropped the ball and probably cost us from being able to accomplish more. Okay. But we have accomplished quite a bit and we should remember that. And then we should take that and imagine what it would look like if every affiliate were like that. Or how about this? In Florida, I'm going to tell on us a little bit. In Florida, I think there are roughly around 21 counties affiliated. We have, I believe, 65 counties. Now, before my Floridian peers get upset with me for kind of, airing out our quote unquote dirty laundry, I've looked at some other states. I don't remember which ones at the moment, but I've looked at some other states and some of the other ones are about similar. when you look at, the number of counties that they have and the number of affiliates that they have that are affiliated, the proportion is in some states very similar. So, if you're outside of Florida, don't get too high up on your horse there. Okay. But think about this. Imagine if we had all 65 affiliated and all 65 were hustling at just the minimum level that we are, right? Imagine what Florida would look like. Imagine what your state would look like. So yeah, I do think that the answer to the LP, to all of our problems, is more so, not entirely, more so starting at home, is to roll up your sleeves and do the work at home. One of the things that I tell my affiliate, I tell them, I say, and I said this more than once, I said, you know what? Go ahead and pop up your head every now and then and take a look at what's going on at the state level, more so the state level and the national level, and then put your head back down and go back to work. Okay. Now you can do what you want to do, of course, but this was my advice. I said, just pop your head up enough to keep abreast of what's going on, and then put your head back down and focus on your work. And the reason I said that is because, look, there's a lot of aggravation to be had. I'm sometimes aggravated. I look at the national party and I get annoyed by things. But I try to remember, hey, that's not where I'm working right now. Where I'm working is local. And what's going on locally is pretty good, and it can get better. And I'm hoping that it will get better. And I hope that people will keep me humble, right? And make sure that my ego doesn't get in the way, so that I can keep pushing our affiliate to do greater and greater things. It's just a matter of finding where you can add value and then hitting it hard. Get in there, do the work, and focus locally, and then promote it so that other people can get excited. That's the reason why I do my Sunday night show. I know I've had some people say, well, your show is boring. Well, I'm trying to work on it. We'll figure it out. But what I want to do is I want to see what's going on, because I know that, I don't always have all the ideas. And so when more people are doing the work, doing things in their community, and then promoting it, then that can spill over to other affiliates who say, hey, that's really exciting to hear. Or, hey, not only is it exciting to hear, I want to do it. Like I saw recently, there was a local affiliate here, was it Broward? I think it was Broward County here in Florida. They're having it was like a homeschool summit or something like that. And I believe what they did was they were bringing in people who were homeschool teachers to basically do like a Q&A and discuss, what does it take to homeschool your kid? I mean, we tell people, hey, get your kids out of public school, but where are people going to go? Like, they don't have any answer after that. Like, it sounds easy to us when we already agree that we should pull our kids out and not let them go to public school. But we're not really providing people any answers beyond that. But if you have a local affiliate that's hard at work, then you can bring these people in and say, hey, not only are we telling you that it's a bad idea to let your kid go to public school, but we've also got some answers for you. And we're going to bring in this person who will talk to you about what it's going to take to make that happen. That's not something that you have happen at the national level. That happens at the local level. A lot of the problems that we aim to solve can be worked at, or at least promoted at the local level. But in order to do that, you've got to be there and you've got to be working. All right. That was my show. I hope I motivated you. Again, my two goals, let me go back to what they were exactly. My two goals were to hopefully motivate people to be in it for the long haul. And then where's the other one there? And then impress upon you why local is so important. In fact, in my opinion, the most important. That doesn't mean that we necessarily ignore things that are happening at our state and national level. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is we need to shift our priorities and put them more local. Pop your head up. If you're not really interested in the headache, if you're not really interested in getting involved, then it's probably best to back out a little bit. That doesn't mean uninvolved. All I'm talking about is your focus. Where are you prioritizing your time? And in my opinion, from what I've seen, prioritizing at the local level is best, because this affiliate has went from 2017 to now. That's 6 years. That's like 4 different national chairs who were all different. And there was a lot going on over those times. and all the things that our affiliate has accomplished, has not accomplished them in spite of or because of the National Party. We just put in the work and we kept going. And you pop your head up every now and then, you keep your head abreast. And then if it's time for you to vote, and maybe it is, maybe you do need to kick someone out, or maybe you need to vote somebody else in. That's fine. But focus on local. All right, folks. That's the end of my show today. I want to thank you again so much for tuning in so early. I hope I didn't anger you too much. I will be adjusting my my thumbnail to make it a little bit more representative of what what I was talking about, because I'm not really here to trash other people or trash other affiliates. I do really want to encourage people. But thank you for watching. You can again catch me every Monday morning, every morning. I keep saying Monday. Every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for an informed discussion on politics and culture. And then again, join me Sundays at 7 p.m. with my co-host, Susan Hogarth. We're going to discuss LP happenings. We're going to crawl across the interwebs, and we're going to find out what other affiliates are doing at the state and local level. And then we're going to report on it so that hopefully you can get some ideas and you can be motivated. Now, I got some somewhat exciting news, kind of smidgen here. You can go to my YouTube channel over at youtube.libertydad.com. You can also find me on Rumble, rumble.libertydad.com. I've only got one video up there. I'm just trying to do a test and still trying to work out and get it all set up and get videos moved over there and then get the stream going there as well. But if you will, go over there, give the channel a like. A follow. If you follow, I think if I get like 20 followers, I can get an actual name for the channel. So right now, that's why I've got the redirect for rumble.libertydad.com, because otherwise it's like rumble.com/c/c-12. I don't know, some bunch of letters and numbers. It doesn't really make sense. So anyway, again, youtube.libertydad.com, rumble.libertydad.com. Expect videos to start popping up over on Rumble. They're not quite there just yet. If you want to follow me on social media, you can totally do so. You can find me, Liberty Dad, on Facebook, but I'm more active, Liberty Dad Pod on X, formerly known as Twitter, or you can go really old school. Email me, libertydadpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And one final note. Thank you so much for the person that reached out and said, dude, you spammed me in my subscriptions on YouTube. I didn't mean to do that. That was a total accident, but I have resolved it. So I do read the comments, folks. So if you comment, I do see them. All right. Well, anyway, remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. Have a great week. Catch you next time. I'm out.